I'm Rima Ilebo, MD. I am the Medical Director of the Natural Solutions Foundation. I have been informed that I am live streaming. You are listening to the Dr. Rima Truth Reports.
Our guest is trying to join us, so I'm going to absent myself for a minute.
Now,
wait, this is strange. We did not add her. We tried and could not add her. And when we finally gave up adding you, there you are.
Here I am. I just closed it down and rebooted, and so I'm all here.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. It's lovely to join you here.
Thank you, Julie. We are so pleased that this worked out. We know that you've been having some situational difficulties, and I know you had to make significant effort to be here. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Dr. Rima and Julie Chertow have a few things in common. One of them is our dear friend Nancy Weber. And knowing that connection will lead us into understanding where Julie is coming from. We've put up on the screen, because this is being live streamed, and so people have a screen that has a few things on it. And one of them is your website, which is www.aromadome.com. A very interesting concept, and there's an Aroma Dome. All right.
All right, tell us about an Aroma Dome.
Okay. You know, I have been a hands-on healer for 34 years, and I've been using Young Living for 21 or 22 years now. And I have just intuitively, for many, many years, have been putting towels over my head, putting towels over my client's head. I kept trying to contain the oils. You know, I would do it for people like with a cold or something and over the boiling water. But the main thing was trying to contain the oils. And there is a missing link for sure in this containing the oils. Like, it's so powerful. It has so far surpassed what I knew possible and what I've watched. I spent 9 years perfecting it, testing it, trying to get it to Young Living, and that finally happened after 9 years. I thought it was going to happen right away, and many of my friends said, oh, these things take time. And I said, no, it's not going to take time. You know, but it did. And during that time, I took advantage and I perfected it. I tested it with so many people. And basically, it's a very simple concept. And before I came up with this, I started to take these like Mylar blankets and open them over a client of mine on the massage table. But it would fall on their face. It would fall on the I said, this is not going to work. So I would spend half an hour gathering all the stuff around my house just to lift this blanket so it wouldn't fall on their face and I could have room to diffuse the oils. And that was not working. I mean, it was just ridiculous when I would come up with this contraption. And I kept saying over and over again, somebody has got to think of something that is easy in the middle of a massage, just open it up and start to diffuse the oils. And so that's how this was born. And it is a pop-up. It opens to about 36 inches high and goes right from below the waist to above the head. And it is really for laying there and utilizing the breath to bring in the delicate molecules, which I think do you know about Young Living oils?
Yes,
well, why
do.
don't you tell our audience?
We'd love to know more.
Okay, so, you know, I was very, very drawn to essential oils my whole life, really. And they were not well known. They were not popular when I first started to do massage. And I was gathering them from, we didn't have computers then, so I was gathering them from health food stores, anywhere I could find them. And I had no training or teachers or books or anything, no reference guide. And I thought my clients would enjoy the smell of it to put it in the plain massage oil. And also sometimes I would put them on my clients for various things. And but I never knew, nor did I ever see any change whatsoever. It was just a smell good thing, and that was good enough for me. So fast forward, a friend of mine, Sophia, started to tell me about these amazing Young Living oils. And she said, you have got to try these out. They are so amazing. And I said, well, I just packed up 120 oils of mine because I'm moving into sound healing, and I don't want to buy anymore if I'm not even using the ones that I have. Oh, and she would tell me, oh, these are so different. And I said, yeah, they're different because you're a powerful healer, and the oils are coming through you, and the wisdom's coming through you, and that's why they're powerful, and that's why they're so good. And she said, no, I am telling you, these are vastly different. I said, I'm so happy for you. And this conversation went on for 6 months, and I resisted. I would not try them, smell them, talk to her about them, nothing. It was done. You know, I used 20 different brands for 14 years in my massage practice. So that kind of gives you an overview. And when I, actually during that time, I ended up going to Sophia for a healing session because I was actually going through a difficult emotional time. I had a big breakup and my heart was very heavy and I was grieving a lot. And I had tried so many things and nothing really shifted it. And I thought the only thing I've not tried yet was maybe to get a massage to move some physical energy, therefore my emotional body would be affected. And so I trust Sophia as a healer, so I booked a session with her. I forgot about the oils. And I walked into her place. I was crying and really grieving for months and months. And I walked into her healing room, and there they all were lined up. And I thought, oh, no, she got me, you know, with the oils. So she starts working on me, and she takes 2 drops of the Joy blend, which has the rose oil in it. And at that time, that was our highest frequency of all the oils, 320 megahertz, rose, very high frequency. And it's phenomenal for opening the heart, the emotional heart. And it takes, little fact here, it takes 5,000 pounds of rose petals to make 1 ounce of rose oil. Can you imagine that? That's a lot of rose petals. And that's why it is more costly. You don't need much of it at all. And this rose oil was in this blend called Joy that she put over my heart. And then she cupped her hands over my nose and asked me to inhale. My first thought was, wow, that smells amazing. I mean, none of my oils smell this good. None of them. And remember, I had a bag of like 120 oils. Within 1 minute, minute and a half tops, I started to feel this heaviness over my heart lift. And I knew it well because I lived within it for months and months and months. And now I didn't come into this as a believer or hopeful or expecting or nothing at all. And it was just amazing. I said, what did you just do? And she said, this is what I've been trying to tell you. I said, I need to know this for my clients, for myself. She goes, I know. This is why I've been trying to tell you for so long. So I didn't understand, like, how was it that all 120 oils I had that I used 7 days a week, that's when I was really booked up in Los Angeles with clients. I was booked up 4 months in advance, and I was using these oils, and I never saw one shift. I didn't experience a sinus opening, an emotion shifted, a muscle spasm released, absolutely nothing. And I thought, how is it that 120 oils that I have does nothing? And 2 drops of this Young Living oils radically changed my situation. Actually, I started to feel even more than joy. I got giddy. And the first emotional shift I experienced was like, I'm going to be okay. And that's a very big leap to get to when you're hurting, you know? And I was stunned. I felt so much more confident. I felt like I'm really going to be okay. I can move forward. I can let go. I can accept.
This is fascinating. Really, this is very interesting. And of course, Dr. Rima, what we really see here is that connection between the olfactory sense and the emotional part of the brain. As a psychiatrist, I'm sure that sort of connection is meaningful to you. And we, I for one am a lover of essential oils. For example, here's another delivery system. I have my hemp vape with my CBD hemp oil for my vaporizer. And so I do the same thing, concentrating the essential oil and bringing it into the body. So yes, the whole concept of these essences, whether it's the CBD hemp oil essence or the rose essence or the frankincense, petals of flowers, the oils of aromatic trees, so many other things, all of these aromas have direct access to the emotional part of our brains, and maybe more. And they may have, neurotransmitter-like effects as well.
Yes. Yep. I'd love to go a little deeper into this because
please
go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Because my big question was, how was it that none of mine did this, and why did these Young Living have an immediate effect? I had to know. I started going to every single training that Gary Young put on anywhere in the world. I just was hungry to learn. And I really feel like I've had lifetimes using oils because they were, I was very naturally drawn to them, and they were always familiar to me. So in my training, I began to understand the vast difference of an adulterated oil and a pure therapeutic grade oil. Now, the problem is that there is no agency that is overseeing, a standard, a common standard, thing with the oils, because there's no government agency, there's no group of scientists, they're trying to do it. I know through Young Living they have been. So it kind of falls under the category of cosmetics and perfumes and things like that. And so really it's a free-for-all. I mean, people can put certified on there, and people, customers think they're certified, but there's no certification process. So that's just a made-up term. And so when I started going, I actually spent 9 years in a row going to the lavender harvest at the Young Living Farms in St. Mary's, Idaho. I also went to France with Gary Young, one of 12 people, for 2 weeks. And that was amazing because he had his beginnings there, and he studied there with great masters, and he took us all over showing us, his beginnings, and we met some of his teachers, and it was just amazing time, really amazing time. So I started to understand how easy it is, and I'm going to give a few examples of how easy it is for an oil to become adulterated. So when Young Living says that it is, harvested and the plants are hand weeded and they're only watered with mountain snow melted water or well water, there's no city tap pipes coming into any of the farms because we know what that will bring in there. Gary never has to spray the plants with chemical pesticide spraying. They actually have these quartz crystal towers that this man who I actually spoke to, he's fascinating. He goes around the world saving dying forests and farms overnight. Like, he brings it back to life. And the way he does this is he plants these quartz crystal towers 10 feet into the soil, and it changes the grid lines so that no bugs are drawn there. When the grid lines, the ley lines on the land are even and correct, there's no bugs that are drawn there. And I've seen it for 9 years in a row with my own eyes, and There's no bugs there. And it's actually starting to affect other nearby farms where they don't have to spray because of what he's done on his farms. So that's really a nice ripple forward too. So a few examples. When we were in France, Gary called us over and he said, you guys, this is exactly what I was just telling you about. We were third in line to distill our lavender behind these other two companies. Number one, they were distilling in a vat that was not stainless steel. So right there, the heavy metals are going to leach into the oils. And how would you and I, the unsuspected public, know that they didn't use stainless steel? You know, we would never know that. Okay, the other thing is they were done distilling their lavender in 15 minutes. Well, it takes an hour and a half to properly distill lavender plant material so that the medicinal compounds come out. And it's not going to ever happen in 15 minutes. Again, how would you and I know, the unsuspecting public, that these other two companies only distilled for 15 minutes? They get the top note or the smell, and they can put fillers in it. One of the fillers they commonly use is propylene glycol, and that is antifreeze for the car. There's no difference. It's cheap, it's colorless, it's odorless, and we would never know that it's in there. So there are all kinds of stuff that they do that has no regulation and we would never know. The other thing that I also find fascinating too, it needs to be, the temperature of the steam needs to be set. For every plant, it requires a different setting, the pressure, the amount of time, the temperature, all of that is called precision harvesting. And I know Gary, like before he does any planting of any of the trees or plants, flowers, he prepares the soil for 5 years before doing any planting to nurture the soil, to bring minerals into it, to get the alkaline balance in the soil so that it's going to grow potent, powerful, you know, medicinal grade oils that are going to come from proper planting. And so this is all very, very important. And it's so easy for that to just go unchecked. It's very costly to fire up a steam for one distillation, thousands and thousands of dollars. So how would you and I know in France they did 15 minutes? We would never know. The other thing, they do something at Young Living called the bricks test. And they take a piece of the plant and they kind of squeeze it in this thing so a little drop of the sugar of the plant comes out onto a slide, and they look into this contraption and they can see the bricks level. I don't know how to exactly explain what that is, but every plant requires a different number.
It's a sugar level. It's actually a sugar level. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And so, for example, we were at the farm and we were about to do the very first Melissa harvest, and we were all very excited because it's very hard to grow. It took them 4 or 5 years to get that first crop going. It was very difficult. It yields very, very little oil. I will tell you that we worked our butts off from 7 in the morning until 8 at night, picking up every little sprig. 28 acres made 5/8 of an inch in a 9-inch round glass container, that much.
Oh my God.
And right there, that one little strip, I found out was about $5,000, and that was like 10 years ago. I can't imagine what it is now. But that's all it made. And it took 4 years, and it's constant hand weeding because you cannot, make an error and keep any of the weeds in the distillation process because it's going to change the compounds. It's going to change the compound makeup, and it's going to ruin the therapeutic value. And so the workers that are out there from early morning till night are sitting there hand weeding because he doesn't do any spraying, so it's all hand weeded. Anyways, Gary said, let's have we were all very excited, the first Melissa harvest. He says, let's do a quick 10-minute breakfast, and he sent his manager out to test it, and it was all good and fine. We all cheered. We were ready, excited. He has him go back one more time to check it before we're going to cut it, just to make sure. And it had dropped from like, I don't know what it was, like 38 or this, that, down to 13, I remember. And he said, that was just in 10 minutes. And we were like, how did that happen? The wind blew.
What was it that had dropped? Now, you talked before about the frequency of something, and you now are talking about something dropping in a living plant. I wonder if you would direct your attention specifically to talk about that.
Yeah, so like Ralph was saying, it's the sugar content of the plant, and that reveals if the plant has its like highest compounds, so that it's going to be a whole different oil. If he started to distill them when the number was lower than it's meant to be, it would not have those compounds. It would be missing compounds that, you know, and every compound, like a compound could be like a monoterpene or a sesquiterpene or a limonene. And each one of these compounds has different purposes. You know, maybe, you know, limonene is very powerful and very highly supportive for dealing with cancer. And, you know, sesquiterpenes, they have the ability to go beyond the blood-brain barrier and open the pineal gland. Our pineal gland is our access way to our true divine nature. Now, this is interesting too. I'm doing a little segue here, but...
And by the way, that's the exact opposite of what the effect of fluoride, which calcifies the pineal gland, by the way.
That's interesting. Yeah. So it took 3 weeks after that number dropped for them to raise, however it happens. You know, everything affects that number. The amount of rain, the dewdrops, the sun, the wind, the elevation of, you know, where it's planted. There's all these factors. And so it took another 3 weeks for that number to get back up so that it was ready to be cut and distilled. And we missed it. We all had to go home. But that's precision harvesting. And that's something hardly anybody does. It just is very costly, you know. And again, that's another thing. How would you and I know if some company tested that? So you can see there's all these effects, like what's the water that is used to water the plants? Are there city tap water pipes coming in? Young Living uses only snow melt water and well water, and it's purified, it's clean water, you know. All of this matters. And
I'll tell you one thing, they would love Chile, because the country of Chile has some of the world's greatest glacial meltwater resources. I would think, yes. Dr. Rima, the world's greatest resources. And of course, Dr. Rima is in Chile, and people in Chile love you know, flower remedies and essential oils and all of those good vibrational foods. Foods. This is very, very interesting. We have, by the way, about a half an hour left in the program. So just give you an idea as to, and so we take us on a trip. I've seen those wonderful photos of the fields of the Young Living farms, the magnificent flowers. You know, the energy is very high, and you know, thank you for helping us understand really how pure the ingredients are and how careful the distilling. But take us further. Take us further.
Okay, so all of that under the umbrella, you know, the thing is, Gary, like I know with like Idaho balsam fir, he used to, you know, have to distill in the middle of the night when temperatures were below zero, freezing, and they would have these, you know, big semi trucks, and they would, you know, drive on these icy, dangerous roads. Now, how would we know if he did it in March or April when it was warmer and safer and easier? But he won't cut any corners. You know, he's so in integrity, the way he does everything. And we never have to worry about that. You know, I've watched him throw away Melissa oil. I was like, that was crazy, because it was missing some compounds, and he will not sell it if it's missing compounds. You know, and so like when Young Living is out of stock of something, it's because God takes time to grow. You know, nature takes time. And so most companies will put some filler in it, or just leave it out, or add some other oil to keep the business going. He'll be out of it for a year if he has to, until it grows. He's opened farms like in Canada for one tree, the black spruce. You know, he built that entire farm and distillery and everything for that one tree.
I've heard rumors.
One oil in Valor.
I've heard rumors that Young Living has control of much of the world's frankincense trade at this point.
Yeah.
And that, of course, is one of the most powerful of all of the essentials.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, he's built distilleries in Oman, you know. We're so blessed, you know. And something I always like to remind, like when I'm teaching a class, in the old days, because I went to Egypt with Gary, and he is all about documenting and preserving the ancient wisdom so that it doesn't get lost. And so he made a documentary film, and all of us were in the film as Bedouin men, because there were no women in the camel caravan that would take a year or a year and a half through the desert, you know, and it ended in Petra, Jordan at the Treasury House. That's the original frankincense trail. And many of these Bedouin men never made it home. They would die of disease out there, or the robbers and would come on their black stallions and, you know, have these big battles and would behead them. And I mean, it was intense. Like, and what does that tell us? I mean, this was prized more than anything, any commodity on the planet, essential oils, pharaohs and kings, and they would bury themselves in their tombs. The Egyptians actually believed that they could not go on in the afterlife if they still had evil deities, which we translate to emotional baggage. And so they would use the oils way back then, thousands and thousands of years ago, for emotional clearing. And I want to go into that a little bit, because this is something we all experience, but to bring consciousness to it is really important. And that's where this comes in too. One of my favorite things with the Aroma Dome. So in our limbic, you started to share about that, Ralph. In our limbic part of our brain, we have what's called a center that's called the amygdala. And this amygdala is where all emotions that we have ever experienced from the time we're in the womb until now, that gets permanently imprinted. So whatever happened in the womb, or when you were 2 years old, or whatever, it gets imprinted. And the only way that the amygdala is stimulated is through smell, not talk therapy, not any other way. All of that is good for awareness purposes, but it's never going to touch that original trigger like the oils do. And so we have, like, I don't know how many emotional blends, and they're not random. I mean, Gary is a master blender, and he thinks about it. So if an oil is called inspiration, it's gonna cause inspiration. It's not just some name for a candle or shampoo or an incense, you know, it's hardly that. And so we're very blessed in that way. And so, you know, I think about, well, let's go back, okay, to the how this works. So we have two axis ways as we breathe the molecules in. One is through our sinuses into the olfactory neurons, and then it bypasses the blood-brain barrier. We have this barrier around our brain. And the thing is, this is interesting, the pharmaceutical drugs are made from the exact same flowers and plants, but they cannot patent a pine tree or a peppermint bush. So what they do is they take out the natural compounds, they add their synthetic compounds, and now they can patent it and make a ton of money. And that's how they make pharmaceutical drugs, but they are absolutely made from the same plants. Isn't that fascinating? So the thing with pharmaceutical drugs, the molecules are very large, and they cannot bypass the blood-brain barrier. And in my book, I wrote this book. It's called Aroma Dome, Changing Lives One Breath at a Time. I have a photo in here of a tennis ball trying to get through a chain link fence. And I think that's a really good visual to get the impact of how the molecules work. And so this is, why it's difficult with certain drugs for like brain tumors and things like that. And why the oils are so effective is because of the small molecular structure and how easily and readily they go right past the blood-brain barrier and go to work. And the thing is, these oils and the compounds, God gave us everything we would ever need in nature, in the plant kingdom, for healthful longevity. And it's all there for us. And they have their own mission, and they know where to go. They know what to do. We just have to open the bottle and get it on and breathe them in. Go in the Aroma Dome, drink them in your water, take baths in them, prepare your food with them. I mean, there's so many ways to use these oils. And so one of the most amazing things is watching, as a healer, oh my God, for 22 years, I would give everybody that laid on my table got an emotional release treatment. And it's so beautiful how it happens layer by layer. Let's say somebody had some big traumatic event. You're not going to go from trauma to joy in one breath. So, you maybe start with putting or breathing in Trauma Life, which is a blend from Young Living. And it's incredible. 2 drops under the tongue. When there's a big traumatic situation, like a car accident or a divorce or a sudden death, all these unexpected, very traumatic events is very difficult. But it really quickly changes that, and it literally uplifts that, and it changes that. So like what happened to me, with that joy blend, I felt, oh, I'm going to be okay. And I didn't feel that 5 minutes before when I first tried that oil. No way, not even close. I'd been living with this thing for months. So anyways, it's just, they're so incredible how they work for the emotional body. I got a letter that really brought tears to my eyes just a few weeks ago. And it was from an American female soldier in the U.S. Army. And she wrote to me, and she was telling me that soldiers, every minute, another soldier takes its life. And I'm like, whoa, really? Oh my God, I didn't know that, statistic.
Julie, the president of Natural Solutions Foundation, Major General Bert Stubblebine, U.S. Army retired, Dr. Rima's esteemed husband, has written about that specifically, and about the relationship between the psychiatric drugs and the suicide rate. But anyway, Please, this is fascinating. Please go on.
Okay, so she writes me this note, an email, and she said, through the grace of God, she was led to Young Living Oils and to the Aroma Dome. And she said in one session, she no longer had that feeling of wanting to take her life. And she has been telling as many of her soldier friends as possible. And there's so many now that have no desire to take their own life after using the oils in the Aroma Dome. And I just, mission accomplished, just that. Is
there any particular one of the products that works in that context, or is it a group of them? What was the experience?
So the thing is, I don't know what exactly she used. Now, here's the thing: is that we all have different receptor sites, all of us. And so, let's say there's 3 people that have allergies. And we give them RC, which is for respiratory congestion. It's a great respiratory blend. And for 2 of them, it works right away. Highly effective. The symptoms change. But that third person it does nothing for them. But it's not because that's the wrong oil or a bad oil. It's that it's not a match for their receptor sites. So we have to go through a little bit of trial and error. And I often tell people, get a notebook. And when you feel an oil work, because you can't miss it, like it really changes us, write it down. Because it's like a missing link, and it's like the lock and key. And when you find that right oil that's a match for your personal receptor sites, it really works. Highly effective. And Gary has taught us for years, if an oil doesn't work within 60 seconds, go to the next. Go to the next. And you will find something that works for you. And so that's really important to know. So then maybe I might choose lavender and chamomile for that third person for allergy symptoms, and then it works. So for the emotional body, the same thing. You have to work layer by layer. So I would start with the trauma life, because there's some traumatic event. Either they saw something that just, nobody should have to see what they see. It's terrible, and they're traumatized. But there is an answer, and it's oils. And especially in the Aroma Dome, because it's contained and it's concentrated. The difference of this, or taking a couple drops and then putting it on, right? And cupping your hands over your nose and taking 3 or 4 breaths is wonderful. But that's it. Now you're done. And here, we recommend to set the timer. This is the diffuser.
Julie, can you open that up? I guess that's the bag that contains it. We would love to see it opened up if it's possible.
Okay. Yes, it's big.
That's what we thought. But people need to see how big, I think.
Yeah. And if you get this, please be careful that you keep it at arm's length, and away from glass, like a window or something, because it does pop open.
All right.
So
wow, all right.
It holds the same way as a sunshade for your car window.
I love that.
Love it. And wonderful.
And then what happens?
One of Dr. Rima's favorite colors, too, by the way.
This is periwinkle. I don't know if you can tell in this. It's periwinkle. So
it's very nice.
You can see the branding there. This is really thought out. So if you notice, you probably can't see, there's no bottom on it. And the reason I designed that is because I needed something and wanted something that in the middle of a massage, the client didn't have to get up and crawl in it. It just goes over. Or an elder in bed at a senior care center or in the hospital. Right. Just put it over.
And I see that you also had some sort of a pump device that you were about to show us when I interrupted you and got you to open that up. But thanks for opening it up. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Now here's the thing. People ask me all the time, do you sell this separate? And I don't, because I tested it with over 100 people, and I put this diffuser on the floor next to the person, and every single person said the same thing. They said, what's supposed to be happening here? I don't feel anything. Or what oil are you diffusing? I don't smell anything. Or I think your diffuser's broken. I don't think anything's coming out. And every single person of the 100 people said this. And I'm like, why are they saying this? So I went in and I noticed right away the molecules coming out. Let me set this up here. And they would fall immediately to the ground. Oh. Okay, and we don't want that. Yeah. So
sounds like an electric charge issue, static charge issue.
Well, it would just because of the placement of the diffuser. So I designed a pocket that comes above the zipper, which is about here. Yep. And so this comes with a 5 mil and a 15 mil atomizer top. The shorter straw, obviously, is for the 5 mil bottles of oils, and this is for the 15 mil bottle. And so all you do is you take off your top and the little plastic orifice here. Screw this in right here. And then the end of this tube goes right here, and it goes into that upper pocket. And we recommend setting the timer. Here's your on and off button. And this is for 5 minutes to 30 minutes. And we recommend, you don't really want to put this off the side like I did, but it does come, we provided a little stand.
Oh, so this is well thought out. Very nice.
Very well thought out. This is for a tabletop diffusing in your home, or it's for the Aroma Dome. This just goes into the pocket. And it has to go up high in that pocket because then the molecules circulate and take effect, not on the floor. And so if we left it open for people to just buy the dome on its own, they would be using whatever diffuser they have laying around, and it would get a bad rap. People wouldn't feel anything, and I cannot have that happen because this is helping so many people. Oh my God, the things I have heard and watched change is so far surpassed what I knew possible, what I thought possible with this.
So people can find out more about the Aroma Dome if they go to Aroma Dome, that's AromaDome.com, and they'll be able to get more information. And of course, Young Living Oils, folks, Dr. Rima Natural Solutions does belong to the Young Living affiliate program. So, Dr. Rima, what do you want to say about that? You were about to speak. I'm sorry.
Well, the first thing I was going to say was that, Julie, your dedication to making sure that these oils have the most intense and beneficial impact possible is just very inspiring. And I also want people to know that we are bringing them the information about the Aroma Dome without any financial connection. We do not sell Aroma Domes. We do not make a commission on them. I have no idea what an Aroma Dome sells for. By the way, how much does an Aroma Dome sell for?
Okay, so your Aroma Dome and the diffuser, which has a 5-year warranty. This is such a great diffuser. It's the one I used to design this. And it comes with an external timer because if you're alone, you don't want this going on and off, 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off for 3 hours while you're snoozing in there, because it's going to cause way too much detoxification. They're very powerful. Remember, we're used to putting 1 or 2 drops in, taking 3 breaths, and that's it. This is 15 solid minutes for an average treatment. You can, for sure, if somebody's very toxic, an elder, a child, you're going to want to change that. You want maybe just to diffuse for maybe 2 minutes on and 5 minutes off. You have to alter it. The one thing we recommend for children going in, they must have parental supervision, but we suggest that they sing songs because children are not going to lay there and do deep breathing. But if they start singing, they're going to start to utilize their breath more and be able to bring those oils in. So they love that, and kids love tents and forts and, you know, how we used to always build our things. So, you know, and then also it's very light and airy. Nobody that has had claustrophobic situations in their life has ever had a hard time in here. Not one person.
What's it made of? What's it made of?
It's made of a taffeta because it cleans up so nice. It's less than 2 pounds when it's in the case. So you can travel with it. And here's the thing, it has no, we fought tooth and nail for this. It has no fire retardant and no PUs, polyurethane, which is a chemical that they spray on children's tents and on clothing and on toys and everything. And we did not have to do that with this fabric. And I am so grateful because I would have never brought it out because the oils literally digest petrochemicals. And so if you're laying in an enclosed environment with polyurethane and fire retardant, it's going to damage your brain.
So are you saying that people should not wear synthetic fabrics or have plastics with them in the dome? This is very important.
Yeah, I mean, like they've tested this thing, oh my God, a lot. And there's like, I've used mine for 10, 15 years. I mean, the longest time. And there's nothing has changed. It is plastic, but it does not leach. They have found a material that does not dissolve with the oils. Because Gary would never care. He carries this diffuser as well. But mine is made with a special tubing. Normally, this is how it works, where when you just buy the diffuser, you screw it on the side, which you can't do with this because this was made for Aroma Dome, this little attachment thing here. And then you just put it on your tabletop. Now, I really recommend also diffusing in your home because, you know, let's say there's a family and the child comes home with a cold and they're sneezing and coughing, and now your bacteria of this child is now airborne. And this is when the brother or sister gets sick, and then the mother, and then the other child gets a relapse. It's because they need to purify the air, and the oil for that is thieves oil. Thieves oil is very powerful support for infection, virus.
Love my Thieves toothpaste.
Yep, Thieves oil is in everything. I'll show you one thing. This Thieves
spray. We have,
spray,
by the way, about 9 minutes before the end of the program, folks. Very interesting so far. We're really learning a lot. Dr. Rima, what is the scientific scoop on the connection between aroma and emotion? Is it there?
Well, the scientific scoop has been emerging and deepening. When I first heard about essential oils decades ago, the scientific scoop was, oh, gag me with a spoon. We have moved a long way, baby. We now understand that the molecules of essential oils trigger a whole cascade of effects in the brain and in the body. This is not woo-woo. This is not imaginary science like vaccine science. This is real science. And by the way, I want to throw in a plug here. Bear with me, Julie, for a moment. There is a symposium which will take place from December 19th through December 23rd in Mysore, India, and online at distance around the world, which we are convening, on reclaiming science, in booting out the worthless corporate bought and paid for science upon which public policy like vaccine mandates is based, and replacing it with real science that is actually testable and falsifiable. And the science of aromatherapy, of volatile molecules, is very much a testable, real science, although we are taught that it's not real science because doctors don't know about it. Let me tell you that what doctors don't know about is frequently the realest science and the most advanced science, because the pharmaceutical industry controls the education of physicians. And now imagine if we have thieves oil and nanosilver and CBD and helichrysum, for example, and the doctor says, well, you have an infection, and so what we need to do is treat it from a variety of directions with nothing that can be patented, or with something like nanosilver 10 parts per million, which is patented, but which is not a drug. It's a nutrient and therefore inexpensive. Imagine for a moment what that would do if doctor after doctor were doing that sort of thing to the pharmaceutical industry, the most financially profitable industry on the planet, more profitable than war, more profitable than oil, put together. What it would do would be decimate them. So you're not going to hear about the science of volatile molecules and their physiological, psychological, emotional, and neurological effects from the establishment, not for another 50 years.
Wow.
Indeed. But we're ready to deal with it now. Julie Chertow has been our guest and has explained to us a lot about essential oils and the Aroma Dome. Dr. Rima has
Oh,
weighed
wait,
in
wait, wait, wait,
with her
wait,
science.
wait.
We
I
have time.
forgot.
Go
I
ahead.
forgot something. I forgot
Yeah.
something. You need a
Yes.
website
I
to
gave it
know
to them.
about the Congress.
I put it up
You do.
already. I put
It,
it up already. It
oh,
says end genomicide congress.com. Genomicide. Genomicide. It is the act of killing the genome, identified by Dr. Rima and General Burt. End genomicidecongress.com. That's where that is. Julie's site, of course, is aromadome.com. And folks, Dr. Rima's main site is drrimatruthreports.com. We will have information there on the main site linking you all to Young Essential Living Oil. I think
if
you'd
people
find
want
it.
to buy Young
Yeah.
Essential Living Oils, they need to contact us, and we will put them in touch with our distribution system, because you're going to buy these oils and you're going to be helped by them, and you might as well support the Natural Solutions Foundation as you do so. I would like to know about the Aroma Dome. If it's possible to over aromadomize yourself.
Well, like anything, the oils are very powerful. And so we do not recommend going over, setting the timer for 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off for 3 rounds. And each round gets an oil change because we're working layer by layer. So, for example, let's say somebody has, a cold and you want to address that. So they're miserable because they can't breathe. So I would choose like RC, for example, to open up the breathing so that they're more comfortable. And now, what would we go to next? I would like to, eradicate the bacteria or the virus, and so I would use thieves next. Okay, so now they're breathing easier, and now we're going in, and they're breathing in the thieves oil to eradicate whatever it is. And then I would like to support their immune system, so I might choose ImmuPower for the third oil. And you see how that works layer by layer?
Right.
And also,
how would somebody know who didn't have Julie at their beck and call on their Skype or telephone or in their office?
Right. There's reference materials, a certain book that I've used for years and years, and it is laid out. I mean, it has it's specific to Young Living. And so it has a list of every oil, singles and blends, with a section of ailments and treatments. And so you can just look up, muscle spasm, and there's going to be the list of oils that work for muscle spasm. So it's really laid out for us.
And the name of this reference?
It's called the Essential Oils Desk Reference Book, and it's the 6th edition, and they have a pocket reference as well. You want to get the bundle because the small one you're going to travel with, because you need to have a reference guide. And these little zipper bags I love because it has a pocket here that fits the pocket reference guide right in here. So you have your oils, and you put your little book back here. You're not going to take this big, huge book with you traveling. So you want to get the pocket reference and the big hardback book.
Oils traveling, TSA. Does your packet of oils go through TSA without any problem?
No problem.
Okay.
I will take a handful on the plane with me and put them in a Ziploc baggie and good to go. Gary has tested oils after they've gone through, and he says the power of the frequency and power of prayer is much greater than the little x-ray machine. So if you're concerned, he said, just wave your hands over it and put your good energy into it. But I've traveled for years back and forth to Los Angeles, where I have a healing studio and had clients for years and years and years. And I never was compromised with my oils. They always work, And
Very
so
good.
the answer to your question about can you do too much, the thing that could happen is going into too much of a detox, because the oils will detoxify heavy metals, toxins, waste, emotions, like all this stuff. It's very powerful. So you want to just monitor yourself, especially if you're giving yourself treatment. Set that timer, and it comes with an external timer like the one you use to automatically turn your lights on outside. So use that. We provided that, so if you're alone, you're not going to go over the 30 minutes. And remember, too, when the diffuser shuts off for those 5-minute break, the dome is filled with the molecules, and you want to take advantage of that and continue to breathe. Now, if anybody has a respiratory situation, this is brilliant for that. I mean, the stuff I have seen, oh my God.
It looks like much better than the old style, breathing the steam from a kettle. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I must say, folks, we've reached the end of our allotted time. Julie, thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Rima, do you want to take us out with some final thoughts?
We have been, as a species, we have been breathing in things that are good for us preferentially and avoiding things that are not good for us for a very long time. There's a huge amount of traditional accumulated wisdom, and now we're gathering the science of it as well. This is real stuff that you need to add to your tools for your own well-being. Thank you so much for being with us, Julie. It's been a real pleasure. Julie Chertow, aromadome.com.